Hey there everyone, welcome back to GameVine. My name is Dave and today we're going to continue to talk about Gen Con 2015. Now this is going to be a video segment of the multiple coverage videos I've been doing, and if you watch the first part of the coverage you're going to be familiar with the title that we're talking about today. Now the game that I got an exclusive scoop on, but it's going to be produced and sold at Essenceville, which is right around the corner, and it's already pretty much fleshed out and could be sold today if they can make enough copies, is called Race to the North Pole, published by Playmore Games. Now, Playmore Games is under the umbrella of this big conglomerate of publishers called Arctic Games. Tactic Games is one of the other publishers, which is how I ran into the person from Playmore Games, and his name is Uni. Now Uni tapped me on the shoulder because he heard I was a reviewer, and he's like, hey, you want to play this prototype that I have here? And I looked at it and the art on the box grabbed me right away. It's very vibrant, crisp, and it's very kind of campy. It had a lot of intricate details on it, and I appreciated that from the get-go, and that was just the box art. So we sat down and played, and he explains the rules to me, and I actually filmed it on my phone as a disclaimer, so sorry about the shaky cam. I hope it's well and the video feed is okay, but I'm going to have him break down the rules, though there are a few things that he missed only because I cut him short. And that's some of the equipment that I'm going to have to talk about at the end of the video, and also the app. But he's going to, Uni's going to break down from Playmore Games the whole game for you right now, and then I'm going to go into my opinions and what I think about the game. If you watch the first video that I've done, you kind of already know that I like this game. It's pretty neat. So without further ado, Uni, take it away.
If you have anyone in your ship, you bring up one guy to your base camp. Any of these 4 squares with footprints on them.
Gotcha.
And after that, you play one card from in front of you to any of your expedition members on the board. For example, this card tells you that you can move with the card because it has a boot symbol on it. You can ambush with the card because it has the comic style POW logo on it. This number is used to calculate when the storm hits. I'll tell you that in a minute. And this is the actual movement that you can do with the card. So this would be a diagonal step versus an orthogonal or horizontal vertical step.
Gotcha.
So when you play this card, you can do a diagonal step. You cannot step over cracks. You can go by them as long as the crack doesn't continue across your path of movement. So this would not be fine.
Gotcha.
That would be hard.
Okay.
So, bring up a guy, play a card, do the action, and then you check the weather. Now that we have 2 players, we need 8 points for a storm. And we always play these cards on one storm pile. So right now the new pile was started, so it's only 3 points now. So, no storm. At the end of your turn, you refill your hand, and only your hand, to 3 cards, and you pass on the current player marker to the next player's ship.
Gotcha.
They bring up a guy, they play a card, 1 or 2 horizontal steps in one direction. 1, 2, I'm gonna go there. There is total of 5 points, no storm yet. So I'll refill my hand and pass on the current player marker. Well, 2 play dead, so it comes back to you.
Gotcha.
And then you bring up. So every time, if you have anyone here, you bring up one guy.
You bring up one guy.
Play a card, check the weather, and end your turn.
So I do this. I move him here. This activates the storm.
Yep, so that's a total of 8 points.
Gotcha.
Yep. So you do the movement first, and the next phase is you check the weather. Yep, 8 points, so there's gonna be a storm.
I like
this.
this.
You see this color on top of the navigation deck, and that's the storm that's gonna happen. So each card, they have either blue, red, or purple symbol on them.
Gotcha.
So blue symbol is 1/4 rotation clockwise, red is counterclockwise, and purple arrow is half a revolution, so 180. So this time there's a storm, and it's actually a super storm. So there's going to be a 180. Oh, my prototype is falling.
It's a prototype, right?
It's fine at this point of the con. So 180 rotation, and when the rotation happens, everything changes. The cards that you play with change. The cracks on the ice, they form into new places. your guys obviously they just go with the weather, and you know that the North Pole does not. So let's say someone's there, the North Pole does not rotate with the
Gotcha. Yes. Well, interesting.
and you can only access the North Pole from the direction with these boots. So you have to be here, and this is still one more step. So this is an 8x8 grid, and there's an extra square in the middle, which is the North Pole.
Gotcha.
So this is one more step, but that can be played with any boot logo card.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't have to go. It's not a diagonal step; it's a horizontal step as well.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
any card with a boot logo, and you're there.
Gotcha. Just as long as your placement's there.
Yep.
All right.
And when you get yourself there, there is a scoreboard right there. Whenever you have your 4 guys on the scoreboard, you win the game. And once you get a guy in, it's there. It cannot come out anymore.
Good. All
So
right.
It's safe right there.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I do like that a lot.
Yep. The movement rules for the game are right there. The base camps are safe zones, so that there will not be any ambushing in the base camp, from the base camp or to the base camp. And in the base camp you can occupy same squares. Outside only 1 pawn per square.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And ambushing works in a way that you just play, let's say you're the blue player, you're there. So if you play this card, allows you just to do a horizontal vertical step, and it allows you to ambush, which means this card allows you to move into an occupied space.
Gotcha.
You take out the guy who was in the square,
Oh,
they have to go back, start from the ship again,
yes.
and on top of the compass there will be a pile of ice mask tiles.
Okay.
So you take one of them this time. Actually this time it would have been a polar bear, which takes you out as well. The chances are most likely that you will get some sort of equipment from the pile, but there are a few hazards.
So there's the
this
risk.
time it would have been a polar bear. It stays on the board, has a fun mechanic to it as well. But yeah, that takes you out. There's a couple of holes in the ice as well. If you get that after an ambush, you fall through and have to go back.
I like it. I like to take that aspect of it. That's one of my favorite mechanisms in the game.
Yeah, it's funny. Like somebody said, the difference is in Europe, people play to win. In the States, people play so that everybody else loses.
Yes.
Like that's the. So it's funny how people tend to kind of take that element here.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very happy that we managed to create a game that pleases both European and American audience.
Yep, you have both mindsets, because it seems like you are in this demographic over in the States here as well.
Market, so if you can create a game that pleases both, so then I think you're doing.
So that's great. So when is this gonna hit the market?
September 30th. It's coming out in Europe. We're gonna publish it in Essen at Spiel.
Nice.
Which is starting at 8th of October. So Europe will get this game in the beginning of October, and we're right now here in Gen Con setting up US distribution. I can't give any date on that yet. What we try to do, at least, have a Arctic Union. Not my company, I'm from Playmore Games. Arctic Union is a collaboration of Finnish board game designers, and we want to have an Arctic Union booth at Gen Con next year. So that's where you can get this game.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, sir. I really enjoyed this game, and I cannot wait to see it here in the States.
All right, let's start playing it.
So yeah, I mean, that's Rates to the North Pole. Pretty neat, right? I mean, the board is a square board, and then this kind of transparency goes on the bottom, on top of that, and then the circle goes on that, and then the North Pole goes there. And I mean, it's kind of, the way that I kind of boil it down is, it's a game of Sorry that's on steroids, that's beefed up, because you have 4 pawns and you're basically trying to get them to the end to win the game. And if you land on people with a certain card, you knock them back home, and you know, that's kind of the take that aspect. But this completely transforms that mechanism and just adds a whole bunch of different innovative ideas and just neat aesthetics, and makes the game very visceral when you're able to actually spin it. Now, the things that he missed out on, because I kind of cut him short, was the equipment. Now, everyone starts with Husky and snow boots. which allows you can use this equipment anytime you want on your turn. You can use the snow boots to go over the cracks regardless of where you're at, and the husky, I think, to play an extra card. Now I'm just kind of paraphrasing because I only played the game once. There are other equipments, as he did show some of them. The igloo allows you to hunker down and you can't be ambushed. There's the ice pick that allows you to basically enter the North Pole from any direction, which, trust me, that North Pole moves. And I like how the board moves and just changes the whole card scheme and the way that the players are moving. There's also ways to get those equipments as well, and you have your player boards, and I'm showing pictures of the player boards, and you can hold up the 3 equipments. So those are the other things that he wasn't able to go over. The other thing that he had was the app. Now he showed you how the weather triggered with the numbers on the card. Now when you play with the app, you completely forget and ignore those numbers, and you tap the screen every time you play a card. And sometimes the storm will happen on the first tap, which is very unlikely, but it could happen. They have an algorithm that kind of just basically randomizes it, and it could happen on like the 10th tap. But most of the time it's going to happen from like 3 to 5 taps, which that's one of the things that the app does. So yeah, the other thing that the app allows you to do, those pips on the card, you don't absolutely forget them. If you want to make the game even more gamery, you're tapping the weather app every time you play a card, and you can also use the pips as a scoring mechanism and use a kind of a shop theme. You can buy the equipment via the app. So if you play a card with 3 pips, you put 3 into your score, now you have 3 kind of like gold to buy any kind of equipment that you want. So that's another way to get equipment, and you don't absolutely have to ignore the weather on the cards since you're using the app. So that is also the way that the app works. So yeah, I mean, this game is just, it meshes so well. It takes a lot of old mechanisms from the past and very innovative ideas from the future, and meshes them so well into this nice visual package. It's the longevity of this game is going to be high just because you have the app there. Uni really emphasized that he wanted the base game to be fun, which he accomplished. And if you do get tired of the base game and you want to go to the app, you can. I mean, you can play with it, the weather app and the like shop app, or one or the other, vice versa, or just play with the base game. He also said he wanted to have a game where you can play in the dark if the electric goes out. So if the app is not there, you still have a fun game. And he also said, as you heard in the video, he wanted to appeal to the European audience and the States, which, again, I think this game does that so well. This game is going to be one of my go-to games when it comes to like gateway games and showing new players kind of racing and take that aspect mechanisms. And it's going to be my go-to just as a relaxing game. This doesn't have like crazy deep strategy, though it does take time to master. There is that learning curve when the cards shift, and there's also like a snowball effect that you can hit an opponent that is visible across the board, and cracks don't matter. So, I mean, there are things you have to watch out for. So yeah, that was Race to the North Pole. I cannot wait for this game. I cannot wait to get it, and this is going to be a great game for gateway gamers and for gamers alike. Thank you so much, Uni from Play More Games, for that experience. That was one of my favorite things that I did at the con itself. And that's as much as I can say about Race to the North Pole. I absolutely adore this game and can't wait to grab it. Thank you so much for joining me here at GameVine for the Gen Con exclusive coverage today. And until next time that I see you, have a great rest of your day and a great time with all that you play. You heard it here on the GameVine. I'm out.